All right, welcome in to everyone. Today we are going to be touching on the ABOSS to a Boss Workforce Accelerator program. I appreciate you all for being here. I know you could have been doing a lot of different things on this wonderful um, Sunday evening, and y'all chose to spend y'all time here with me. That means the world. This is a time for action, and what we have been calling for is just that, and what we have been implementing is just that. And again, I'm anxious and eager to share an opportunity with you all that I feel like editorially we feel like is much needed with the current climate of our socioeconomic status. So right now, it's evident that inflation is here. Um, taxes are rising, food prices are rising, raw material prices are rising, wages are frozen. We already know this is the recipe. They're trying to really correct inflation by inflicting more harm on the lower working class people with that extra taxation. But again, it's just really at this point, this is one of those moments where we're going to have to really draw the line and say, we're going to have to stand up and do something. And in the midst of everything rising, except for the wages, we also now have a government that is basically tearing down the infrastructure of what we have been reliant upon. And not that it has been great, but again, I look at this as a wonderful opportunity to create something different, something new. And right now, the government is literally diverting money away from education. So we're facing in the near future that we might have to be facilitating education for our youth. We're seeing government pull away from Medicaid and Medicare, and so now we're watching people who are already struggling not being able to afford their medicines. And lastly, this year has been a big shock for agriculture, and the government has been stripping away funds that support the farmers. So right now, we're just saying again, this is a time for action. And this is just a wonderful opportunity, I believe, because again, the system has been failing us for some time. I think this was inevitable. And right now, we can look at this as a position for us to gain traction versus gain tears, right? So we can kind of start to collaborate and build this community and center it around agriculture. And again, I believe that this is just a wonderful time. We're already in the midst of boycotts. They have a long list of boycotts slated for this year. And I'm just saying that the boycotts are cool, but I think we can do something more impactful. And this workforce initiative accelerator is going to be just that. And yeah, so we'll dive into it. This was actually provoked. This ABOD to a Boss program, which is an adult working class. Excuse me, Lord have mercy. I'm gonna have to go back to it. Able-bodied adult with or without dependents. So able-bodied adults with or without dependents is an ABOD. All right. And this was actually provoked. This opportunity presented itself because a few of our community members with Collectively Sustainable stepped forward with these letters that they got in the mail saying that their SNAP benefits were going to be in jeopardy in 30 days or 3 months. They had a timeline where they had to really present a 20-hour a week work sign off form so they can show that they've been doing something so they can receive their benefits. And really, right now, again, as everything is being stripped away, rent and utilities are rising while wages are not. It's natural for most people to rely. I'm not going to say most. I'm going to say more people to rely on subsidies versus what used to happen. So again, this is like a slap in the face because now, on top of creating a system that is in need because of the pricing, we're now having the government say if you receive these subsidies, you are now required to work 20 hours a week, 80 hours a month. And that is equated. So one person, one ABOD, that's somebody without a dependent who gets SNAP EBT can get $291 max. 80 hours a week. If you multiply or do the division, it's right there on the screen. $3.63 an hour is what that boils down to. That's lower than our federal minimum wage. So again, not only are the prices increasing, But now we're at a place where now if you get $300, what can you really do with it? So again, we're utilizing this initiative to not only assist those ABOSS that have to have that requirement signed off on, but we're also encouraging them to link with other farmers to serve as a workforce. So as they're learning to use their EBT to buy seeds and fruit plants and fruit bearing bushes, we're pairing them with institutions that can teach. And in exchange, we're saying we're leveraging that time. So those 20 hours a week that they are required to work, we're saying let's go ahead and back our farmers, let's back our gardeners, let's back homesteaders with this 20-hour minimum, since you got to do it anyway. And nobody can just say, hey, now take me off the system because y'all tripping. I ain't gonna do the 20 hours. I understand a lot of us need this money. We have become dependent on it, frankly. And it's hard to get off something that you've been dependent on for so long, and it's literally just being pulled away from you so fast. So a lot of us are going to have to bite the bullet. And for those of us who are going to have to bite the bullet, we're just saying, let's be intentional about how we spend that 20 hours. So this Abide to a Boss program is a nationally accredited program through Studio Pharma Inc. and Snap Corps. And I seen Dan Scott just join in. I'm gonna unmute you, Dan, in a second. But this program again has already been in existence. We're just re-edifying it now so that it fits the need for what's going on right now. So again, we can kind of create this workforce accelerator program. So the flow of this conversation is really going to be concise. I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself and what we've been doing here in Atlanta. I'm going to pull up Dan so he can introduce himself. We're going to watch a quick video, and then we're going to go into the outline of the program for about 45 minutes. And then the remainder of the time, we want you all to ask questions. Feel free to write them down as you go. But the questions help us. So it'll help us kind of answer anything that somebody else might be thinking that's not saying it. This is being recorded, so it'll give us a rounder presentation. And if it's something that we can't answer, ultimately it's going to strengthen what we can create after this meeting. So again, this is a meeting of the mind. So hold no questions behind, but again, hold them to the end, and then we'll get into it. So just a quick background about me, Lawrence Seals of Seals Family Farm, and we started our farm in 2017. We started with the intention of, it really was started out of necessity. I already had forecasted like the instability of the food system. I was gardening since 2010. 2017, we just decided to take a more intentional stance, and we decided that we were going to feed our whole community. So we got a 3-acre property here in Riverdale, Georgia that we're at now. And reality hit us really quick, really fast. And it said that 3 acres wasn't going to feed much of nobody. And so we really had to pivot really quickly. And we started to basically turn to education. And I think it was a necessary pivot. It was a better pivot because instead of providing the food, we're saying, no, we'll teach you how to grow your own food. So we started really engaging our community, getting involved in any way possible to unearth the people who were also looking to grow food, looking to bake bread, looking to raise animals. And we started just connecting with the intention to share what information we had so that we can produce more people in our community, our network that could provide things as well. So if and when we had hardships, that we can rely on each other. And so with that, again, it just started to become a more intentional community. So we created parameters around it, and we made what is now Collectively Sustainable, which is a grassroots movement that is nationwide. And it's basically our collective that is very intentional about divesting from the big box grocers and divesting from the big entities and investing in hyperlocal food networks. So again, that's basically what Collectively Sustainable is. It doesn't matter your gender, your age, your creed, your background, your nationality. We're saying that at this point, we need to be able to rely on one another because we can't trust the instability of the government, and frankly, is failing at this point. So we need to kind of create those bonds. Within Collectively Sustainable, we have one mainstay that is kind of like the edifice of the community, and it's the Stewardship Center. And I'm saying all this because we're understanding again, at this point in time, this is like victory garden time. This is the time where everybody needs to be growing food. But the problem is nobody knows how to grow food. Back in the day when Victory Gardens arose, it was everybody's common knowledge how to grow food. And now here we are, really trying to get back to the land, but having little to no success because we don't have any mentorship. So collectively sustainable stewardship centers are just that. They're basically gardens, homesteads, small farms, urban and rural, that can basically facilitate education at that communal level again. So, before we had federally institutionalized schools, we had schoolhouses. We had people learning agriculture through their parents, through their grandparents, through repetition. So this is again what we're calling for. And stewardship centers are basically very approachable because we don't have to build anything with brick and mortar. All we're doing is connecting with people who feel like it's that necessary to where they would share their space, their information, and their wisdom to their outlying community on how to grow food. And with that, we're just saying our collective dollars with Collectively Sustainable, our $5 membership fees, we're utilizing those fees to pour into these stewardship centers. So essentially, we are creating our own educational spaces. So that's going to wrap it up for me. I'm going to pass it over here to Dan. I'm going to unmute you in a second, Dan. Dan has been very impactful on our farm and in our community. He is basically my mentor in this space. He acts as our actual farming track operator. So for Seals Family Farm, he makes sure that our budget is right. He makes sure our cost share is right, our cost sheets are right. And he basically introduces this in-kind value to our farming operation. So he really gave me the game on how to present this workforce initiative in real life. And not only that, he is a part of Collectively Sustainable as well. And within Collectively Sustainable, he assists with providing educational resources for our collective, such as ABOSS to a Boss. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Dan. Let me unmute you real quick, Dan, and I'm going to give you the floor.
So as Lawrence said, I act as his farm and track operator, and also do some writing. I write grants as well. And as an ABOD myself, I basically just found my role in the farm. Me and Lawrence have discussions about the infrastructure of farms, and we understand that there's three basic entities on a farm and tract: the landowner, farm operator, other tenant producer. I've been doing these work requirements for about 3-4 years. These work requirements allowed me to create a nonprofit. These work requirements allowed me to create a public benefit corporation, which is SnapCorp. So at this point, 4 years ago, let's just start back. These work requirements have been around for years. The previous administration, with COVID hitting, was not pretty much pushing the work requirements. I just took it upon myself to make sure that I was reporting or utilizing my hours, for working with the nonprofit to maintain my SNAP and EBT. I also, as an ABOD, I utilize those hours to get the nonprofit, get Studio Farming Inc. SNAP authorized. So we're SNAP authorized. And with me being a farm and track operator on Seals Family Farms farm, they can actually accept SNAP at that location because he's partnered with us. So we've just taken this structure and kind of created something that's effective and applicable. But if only one farm is doing it, it kind of makes it, I don't say diluted, but we need more people, actively taking on this infrastructure. So you can move forward to the next slide, Lawrence.
Okay, so the next slide, you all, is going to be a quick video, 2 minutes and some change, and it's going to be a quick summary of what this program ABOSS to a Boss is, and then we're going to dive deep into it.
Why aren't more communities discussing these significant food stamp changes for able-bodied adults without dependents, also referred to as ABOWDs? These changes are serious, time-sensitive, and they could impact your family economically. Imagine receiving a letter from the Department of Family and Children's Services stating that your food stamp benefits are decreasing, and within just 3 months, they could stop altogether if you don't meet the updated ABOWD work requirements. It's a lot to take in, but don't worry. You have options. You can find agriculture-related comparable work fairs or job training programs through SnapCorp, ABOSS to a Boss accelerators to help meet the requirements. SnapCore is a public benefit corporation organized to help you navigate these changes and transition from ABOD to ABOSS. From our nonprofit partners' perspective, Studio Farmer understands the challenges faced by ABODs. Studio Farmer manages SnapCore as a technical assistant to assist partner farm sites and related operations, with offering a more equitable opportunity for ABODs to meet their work requirements. ABODs may use SNAP electronic benefits to secure seeds and fruit-bearing plants as SnapCorp training supplies and their effort to meet their work requirements by helping increase local food production and specialty crops for public benefit. By participating, you not only fulfill your requirements, but also contribute back to the social, economic, and ecological health of the community. Imagine working outdoors enjoying the fresh, clean air, learning about collectively sustainable farming stewardships, and literally seeing the fruits of your labor thrive. It's not just about meeting the requirements. It's about being required to be part of something bigger, something that nourishes both mind and body. Begin your journey from ABOSS at gmail.com to learn more about how you can enroll in SnapCore, meet your work requirements, and make a difference while helping recharge underdeveloped farmlands. Together, we can turn ABOD challenges into opportunities and literally grow stronger communities.
Yeah, so the main objective of ABOD to ABOSS, this Workforce Accelerator program, mainly is to utilize our in-kind donation, our in-kind value to assist and or learn within agricultural operations. So again, we're looking for the people who receive those letters or who may receive them in the future to go ahead and become a part of this initiative. And the SNAP recipients, they already have an age limit on their 20-hour work week requirements. Their ages are 18 to 47. So what we're saying is, again, if you're somebody who has to meet that 20 hours a week, rather than going to the library to do little tasks around there, rather than going to your municipalities and their offices to clean the bathroom, rather than going outside to pick up trash along the highway or the parks to clean the bathroom, we're saying take your 20 hours and invest it into your local agricultural economy, right? By assisting in some form or fashion. Now, this is not limited to folks who are receiving SNAP benefits. It's some people out there who are just frankly concerned citizens. They're concerned about the health of the nation. They're concerned about their food options. They want to learn how to grow food, and they are willingly going to exchange their time for the value of that information that a farmer, gardener, or homesteader can provide. So all we're doing is looking for these people to join on this side as an ABOD. That's a able-bodied adult with or without dependents. Anybody can join this. So I just want to put that in there. The 3 fields that you can join in are labor, admin, and marketing. So when most people hear this opportunity, they think, okay, I'm gonna have to be outside. That's the labor side. Starting seeds, weeding, pruning, transplanting, harvesting, cleaning and sorting vegetables, mulching, placing row covers. That's the run-of-the-mill stuff. But I'm saying if you're somebody who's looking to learn, that's perfect. If you're somebody who enjoys being outside, getting dirty, getting sweaty, this is a perfect application or opportunity for you to expend your 20 hours. And again, if you're somebody who doesn't need to fulfill that request, but that labor side resonates with you, this is what you can do. But oftentimes we forget that agriculture is large. It's very expansive. It's definitely having admin and marketing sides to it, like any business. So admin is a big part that needs to be fulfilled within farmers as well, or operations as well. So admin could look like documenting farm activities and participants. That could be as easy as a sign-in sheet, making a digital one, keeping track of who visited the farm, organizing expenditures. That could look like making sure you understand the fertilizer costs, how much you did really spend on that rabbit or chicken feed, things like that. Event planning is a big one. With farming and education comes socialization, and creating events that are centered around 4-day weekends or holidays are essential. So event planning is part of admin. And then lastly, you have recording livestock and or crop yields. These are just simple ways that you can introduce yourself. So if you're somebody, again, who needs to fill that 20-hour workspace, but you don't necessarily want to go out there and get dirty, but you have a background in admin, you can again attach yourself to a grower of some capacity and fulfill that admin role for your 20-hour work week. Lastly, we have marketing. Marketing is definitely one of those fields that farmers don't tap into easily because they really be out there working that land. They be really touching the soil. So advertising is one of the biggest things that we typically find that impedes a farmer from being sustainable. Nobody knows about them. So if you're somebody who is willing to learn, maybe you're saying, hey, I don't really have the labor part. I don't really care to come in on the admin side, but I can handle your social media. Again, if you're somebody who needs to have that 20-hour week requirement fulfilled, you can jump in to do something as simple as social media marketing, advertising it and marketing their farm products on social media, maybe making flyers, maybe advertising on Farm Fresh 24/7 for that operation. That's simple. That's an even swap. And then lastly, we have maintaining relationships with internal and outlying community. That can look like an email, form, an email list, keeping people in the loop of what's coming on next. This is essential for any business. But again, we're saying we're rooting ourselves in this green stance. So all of these fields are an equal opportunity placement for any ABOD that is needing that 20-hour work requirement. And then if you're somebody who just saying, again, I'm a concerned citizen, I really want to know the ins and outs of farming. I want to know how to grow. But in exchange, let's say you visit a farmer that doesn't need the labor. Maybe you visit a small gardener. It's a small garden in your area. You approach them. They don't really need the labor, but they need the admin help. So in exchange, we're saying you can position yourself again to offer that admin help in exchange for teaching, for being taught how to grow food. And that has nothing to do with money. So we're talking about creating this mutual aid component to our lack within this labor force. So again, that's kind of what we're positioning ourselves to do with this ABOSS to ABOSS program is simply a mutual aid campaign. So the opposite side of this initiative is going to be our partners. Who can we partner with? We're encouraging the ABOSS to partner with gardens, homesteads, and micro farms that are in their area, rural and urban. So if you're near a big farm, cool, but we're really encouraging the micro farms, the ones that are ran by the family. And we're literally running this program right now here to where we don't have an ABOD that needs the paperwork signed off, but we have an ABOD who's saying, hey, I'm willing to work here. And in exchange, I'm going to help you with your social media. We're literally running this in-kind donation, even swap that ain't no swindle. We're running it right now. And again, what we're encouraging ABODs to do is make contact with a garden, a homestead, or a farm that's in your area that resonates with how you want to introduce agriculture to your lifestyle. So whether you're an ABOD because you need the paperwork signed off or you're able-bodied and you want to learn on your own free time, we're saying pick the operation that closely resembles you. If you're in a small space, pick a small garden. We're saying go to the person closest to you. We're not even saying you got to go to the biggest farm. We're saying find the elderly woman in your community that has that front yard or backyard garden that you've been seeing for years. Introduce yourself and make contact with the concept of giving your time in exchange for their information. And all we're doing is facilitating that. So again, if you want to actually live off grid, your goal is to buy some acreage, is live on a homestead and raise your own chickens and do all the things, find a homestead, use social media, find somebody, make contact, let them know, hey, I'm willing, I'm able-bodied, and I'm wanting to learn about your lifestyle. And in exchange, I can facilitate you by offering labor, marketing, or admin support. This is, again, how we can impact our farming community or our agricultural community like ASAP by offering our able-bodied personnel to kind of, again, be a workforce. And the accelerator part comes in because when we contact and connect with these local growers, they're able to instill all that information in a fast track manner. For all of my folks out there who have grown food and did it the hard way, you know that learning curve is very steep. And right now, we don't have no time to mess around. We really need to accelerate this program. We need to accelerate our workforce. So we need to connect with people in our area who know our soil type, that know our bugs and pests, that know what grows here, what time they grow here. We need to connect with them ASAP. So again, this is that mutual aid campaign where we're hoping to approach these gardens, homesteads, and farms with this opportunity. And right now, 2025, there are 53.7 million families right now in the US that are growing their own food. 53.7 million. We're saying that the 41.2 million people on EBT, if we turned around and basically put that labor to these farms, we'd immediately see a benefit in ways we can't even calculate right now. So if you're out there as a farmer, as a gardener, as a homesteader, again, you can apply to receive the ABOD. So you can be one of the people who beefs up your workforce by creating space for ABOD. So I have 3 ABODs on our farm right now. One of them handles labor. She comes in on Monday and Wednesday. She gives me hours of 9 to 12 on her own time. This is somebody who's not a SNAP recipient, but she's still an ABOD. She's able-bodied and she's willing to bargain her time in kind with my information. So she comes in. I have another one that's handling emails and assisting me with reaching out to people, talking about community, collectively sustainable. So she does that. And we have the last one who actually assists with the marketing campaign. And this is again, so we're saying, as somebody who's growing food already, we get the difficulty. We're saying this workforce initiative, this accelerator is supposed to assist you in that way. So as a farmer, as a homesteader, as a gardener, you can create space for labor, admin, and marketing by just teaching someone how to grow food. And like Dan said, that can turn into something profitable. All the people I mentioned, I also give them space in my yard to grow. So some of them choose to grow things like tomatoes. Some of them choose to be more specific and grow certain herbs that they're going to use to make added value products to sell. And again, this is how we collaborate in a big scheme. So one hand washing the other, and they both wash the face. So lastly, I'm just going to go into, okay, go ahead, Dan, my bad.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, let's run it. Let's flip it. ABOSS, in kind, that word that you started off with. How do we actually make an impact, right? We have seen this word on particular contracts, right? Grants, cost sharing. So I could see ABOSS helping farmers and a few farmers coming together. And when that sheet or when that grant that you're writing or trying to get the funds, and it says, hey, you need to provide 10%, 25% cost share. If a farmer has a few ABOSS, 1, 2, 3, or whatever, he can utilize that value. What, 291 times what? If you got 10, 291 times 10. So it's like 2910. So you can go into a grant and utilize that labor to get more funds that you may actually be able to create jobs for the individuals that help provide in kind for that grant. We need to approach these funding opportunities on a collective level as well.
Absolutely. And you said that. That was the biggest thing I learned with that in-kind value, is a takeaway that it can transfer into a nominal value on paper. So it's not that they're giving you their time for free, it's calculated. It's not that you're teaching them for free, it's calculated. We're just saying that we have an agreement between one another that you're going to give me this for that. But when it comes for, like Dan said, approaching paperwork, we can apply that nominal value, right? So again, that's the framework for what we're doing, how we're approaching it. And like Dan said, that can be collective information garnered to then go and obtain funding of some sort. So the ABOSS to ABOSS program, again, is through Snap Corps and Studio Farmer Inc. The only way to approach the ABOSS to ABOSS program is through the collectively sustainable community. Why did we do that? Because we don't want this to turn into something that people just do willy-nilly. We don't want this to be something that people do to pencil whip their reports. It has to be documented. And again, collectively sustainable is a community that is basically housing the movement. And the biggest part of what we understand with building these intentional communities, which is basically what these things will morph into, right? Because again, we're encouraging you to connect with people that you find resonance with. You understand how they grow, and you're saying, I want to do that too. Maybe, align yourself with people that you vibe with. This is a way for us to build community around food. And with building that community, initially we're saying we're going to be strangers coming onto a space. It's going to be three people coming onto your space. What's naturally going to happen? Conflict. Conflict is going to happen. It's inescapable because we've been embedded with conflict since we've been kids. That's our whole social economic position is conflict. It's individuality, individualism, and me. So conflict is gonna arise, and the collectively sustainable community basically immerses the individuals in our community culture that is rooted in conflict resolution by way of authentic dialogue. That's the main component that we're moving with going forward. As we build this community out, we have to realize and recognize what has been uh, stifling our growth in the past when we've tried to build communities. And it's always small things like a little hole in a boat that sinks the whole thing. And we're just saying we can't let conflict within the community continue to derail our movements. This is a major movement again at a time that it is much needed. So this is where literally we have the supply to meet the demand. We can't fumble this. So authentic dialogue is a big part of collectively sustainable. And as you come into collectively sustainable, we get $5 a month as a membership fee. The actual Abide to a Boss program is not priced. You get to participate. It has nothing to do with the funds. We're saying, come on in, put your money into this pile, and we're going to be basically educating you as the producer, the garden, the homestead, the farm. You're going to come in and get immersed in the culture, and the ABOSS are going to come in and get immersed in the culture. And then we're going to separate. The ABOSS are going to go through a specific training through the ABOD to a Boss program that accentuates, hey, what do you desire? How can you implement labor? Do you want to do admin? Do you want to do marketing? So we're going to be assisting them with kind of rounding out where they're going to be placed within the positioning of the personnel require or labor department. And then the people who are educating and giving their space and time in exchange for that labor, we're going to transfer them to the lighthouse and have another separate training going on where we're educating them on basically how to facilitate the education, how to utilize your ABODs, like Dan said, how to basically leverage your in-kind value. And again, this is the lighthouse position is basically where you can kind of serve as a pre-stewardship if you desire. And again, stewardship is our end goal. We want these nationwide educational facilities to be everywhere that we need them, that's ran by us, for us, by us. And again, that $5 donation plays a major role because as a collective, as we grow and we get more people into this, we're going to show how we can utilize our collective dollar, our collective spending. And instead of taking the money to make us rich over here with collectively sustainable, we're saying, no, the resources within us. We don't need no fancy cars. We drive big trucks and wear big boots. We willing to put the money back into the community. We're looking to build these stewardship centers with this collection of $5 a month from the community. So this, in a nutshell, is where we're going. And again, the lighthouse would be pre-stewardship. That means they're hosting 1 to 3 people. Again, that could be one personnel, labor, or you can have labor, admin, and marketing, or 2 marketers. You can mix and match how you want. But if you're somebody who says, yes, I like how this works, I even got a team of people, like Dan said, we're going to go into business together. We're going to make this a sustainable union. We want to become a stewardship center. Now, a stewardship center is just able to host 10 or more people, and they're going to teach in a more broad capacity. And the biggest part about the stewardship center is, again, they're going to be funded and stipend by the community. So this is basically our presentation in a nutshell. And I think this is a perfect time for something like this. This is a perfect time for us to really be intentional about how we're spending our time. If anybody has any questions at this time, you are free to unmute yourself.
To sign up for farmer gardener and for learning site, where do we go? Because I kind of caught part of it, but like I said, my little people were chiming in. And then my two-part question to that is, I understand y'all are in Georgia. I'm up here down, well, yeah, I guess up here in Virginia. Um, how would that work as far as finding the ABODs, or would I just work with my local workforce development center in that aspect, and put the word out that I'm a certified person?
Yeah, like you said, this is a nationwide program. We're essentially bringing in, because the leverage for us is basically allowing ABOTs who need that 20-hour work requirement. They need that met, and they don't want to invest their time in picking up trash. They want to invest it into, again, this green initiative. That's the first incentive. So we're kind of trying to put the word out to kind of get those ABOTs aware of people in their area. If you're somebody on the opposite side, you're already interested in getting ABODs, then yes, you will have to market for yourself. You have to still join Collectively Sustainable. From there, we can kind of organize it. If we have more people in that area, chances are we won't, because again, this is something so vast, and hyper locality is a real official part. You're going to have to basically unearth the people in your area, some form or fashion. Again, if we utilize these ABODs in the first waking moments of this program, we can use the ABODs for social media marketing and start to really like put the word out expeditiously about this program. So again, we're going to have collective efforts to kind of join us in spreading the word. So hopefully it won't be so hard for us to find each other in the near future. I hope that answered your question. Jess, you can go ahead and unmute at this time.
I think you kind of answered the question. I have undeveloped land. I'm reading it from the chat. I have undeveloped land I inherited in Alabama, but I'm new to farming myself. I think it would be a waste to just allow that land to do nothing. So I'm just asking, how can I get started to learn and develop the land and use the ABOD program? Like, what would you recommend first steps? And
Well, the collectively sustainable community is doing just that. So we're basically utilizing each other as resources. So somebody like yourself would be a host. You could possibly connect, like Dan said, connect with somebody who knows how to steward the land already, and formalize an agreement between you all, you three, you four, and utilize the agreements again and leverage each other as resources to establish the space to be educated upon. Just having land is not going to be very beneficial if you're just operating with this in mind, because you would have the space but not the education. So if you want to access the ABODs, you need to have an educational facility for these ABODs to attend, so that they can learn while again leveraging what they have to offer to you all as far as labor, admin, or marketing assistance. So I would say just collectively sustainable is doing what you're saying, but it still is going to fall on your shoulders. This is not something that I want you all to kind of think is just going to be something we walk in and it's easy. We're in for a fight. We're in for a fight. The folks in charge are deliberately placing and impeding our growth, and now they're literally trying to chop it down to nothing. We're going to have to get it out the mud, and we're going to have to do things that we are not used to doing. So if you have land and you're wanting to get involved, become a community member, start to build your hyperlocal infrastructure, start to intentionally seek out people who know how to work the land, who know how to steward the land, who knows how to rear animals or forage. Start to then leverage your land to bring them over. And then you can formalize a lighthouse or possibly a stewardship center, to where you can now have the ABOTs coming over to assist in that capacity. Did that answer your question,
yeah,
Jess?
answered perfectly. I was just writing notes, and someone in the chat already, said that they're in Alabama and would work with me. So I'm thankful to
There
be
we
here. Thank
go.
y'all for all this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Believer, you can go ahead and unmute yourself at this time.
Peace, peace. This is your Joshua. I'm calling from Jersey, and my question was really more focused around like active community gardens and such. Like, is this program? Is it possible for me? Well, is it feasible for me to imagine this kind of program being applicable to a situation where I would develop a business that would teach and maintain or upgrade or manage what community gardens are that are already available in my area, and try to build those out to be, some kind of sustainable resource for the community if they're underdeveloped. Is there some kind of a way to build the ABOT, the offering to ABOTs into some kind of a program where I'm expanding the use of already available resources that are in the community?
Absolutely, absolutely. That would be most effective. Again, we're talking about low hanging fruit is what we're trying to reach for, and that would just be something that's really easy. If it's a community garden, that can definitely be a site to train on. You can have a plot in the community garden. Again, we're trying to make this as accessible as possible for everybody. So if you
So
have a space,
having a
said
plot gives me an opportunity to teach and give somebody credit hours towards.
correct.
Okay, so that's cool. So my organization can basically just buy a plot in each of the local community gardens and then offer the resource for ABOS to train at our space.
Absolutely, 100%.
I need that right now. Thank you so much. That's a great op.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So again, this is for the workforce. This is literally built and constructed to assist the people who are already growing the food because we understand that the food system is on the chopping block next. We can't afford to lose the food. They say whoever feeds you leads you. We already been led down the wrong direction for so long. We're gonna have to get a grip on ourselves. So again, we're trying to make this as accessible as possible so we can spread it as far as possible, as fast as possible, so we can make as many sustainable connections as possible. All right, we're gonna let me lower your hand, believer. Miss Irby, if you want to unmute, then we're gonna go back to Shay.
Good afternoon. I had a question about which I don't know if it was already answered, but how do you get if you want to like have your land as a place to grow? How do you get the helpers to come that are part of the program to come to help you with the gardening and stuff?
Yeah, so if you're part of collectively sustainable, we would be, let's just say you're in an area that is populated already. We have community members already there. It would be simply putting it out there within the group, collectively sustainable, to see who's around, who is willing to take you up on that offer. Other than that, again, we're getting this stuff out the mud, y'all. This is a program that is not necessarily new, but how we're officiating it is new. You might have to get out there to find the people yourself. You might have to utilize social media. You might have to go to like Dan said, go to your workforce development center and put it out there. It's going to take some footwork. It's not going to be a snap of the fingers. Not that you're insinuating that, but I'm just kind of go ahead and managing folks' expectations. Again, we're in for a fight. We just gotta dig down deep and do the work. So if we can find these folks by way of collectively advertising, collectively putting the word out on social media, stirring a buzz up about this WIOA opportunity, um, I'm hoping that that will unearth naturally the people who already have the ABOD paperwork and are needing the 20 hours. But again, don't discredit the folks who don't have the paperwork. There are a lot of people out here looking to learn because the food is poison. We have to do this. So again, it might take you making the first step to initiate contact versus waiting for the other people to come up. All right, Shay, go ahead and unmute and you can ask your question. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Shay. Hold on one second. Dan, did you have anything?
No, you touched on it. I was just going to say, because she was saying, how could she find people? I was going to say, your libraries, some places will allow you, like libraries will allow you to put up a flyer, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. PSAs, public service announcement, things of that nature will help. People actually do have these letters right now. Some people are kind of, I ain't gonna say ashamed of going out and saying, hey, I'm on stamps and I need these work requirement hours. So what happens, crunch time happens and they find themselves not reporting appropriately and having to renew all over again. So the more we put it out there that it's okay to let us know, we need you guys. We need you guys. It will help people be less, I ain't gonna say feel shameful about what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, a lot of us are impacted. And like Dan said, we're used to suffering in silence because our culture is rooted in individualism. So we don't have community. We don't want to reach out to share and be vulnerable with someone else. So again, utilizing social media as our leverage to really spread the message far and wide, I think will unearth people naturally who are going to follow down the pathways to be introduced into the community where we're organizing and putting people together as far as that workforce initiative. So anybody had anything? I saw some couple more hands up. We must have answered y'all questions.
No, I have one more. Sorry.
Okay.
Right, on the Instagram reel, you mentioned that there would be like a certification course for works. I'm gonna say work site volunteer or training sites that people would have to go through, or even your where's my notes? I don't have it written on this piece of paper. The one of the satellite sites.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be on another Zoom call, or who would we reach out to find out more information to get that certification? Because I do understand that with anything that the government does, they do have checks and balance and measures, and they most likely aren't just going to be like, oh, you went to this farm, and not having any way of verifying that they are, lack of better words, authorized to sign off on people's hours. And I'm the reason why I'm asking this question is that I'm thinking about surrounding three counties that I volunteer and work within farms in, and I know they're going to be hit hard with these mandatory work letters. And if I can relay this information back to my mentors, they will be able to be in a better position to help their local community. I hope that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
No, absolutely. So basically, the answers that you're looking for is nestled within the community collectively sustainable. Dan Scott is the point of contact. So when you come into collectively sustainable and you're saying you want to be a lighthouse, which is basically one of these people who can sign off, you're going to take the course of anchor management. This is another course through Dan Scott. So that's your training implement to get you signed off. So you're not going to just be able to come in, pay $5 and say, yeah, here's the paperwork, go ahead and sign up as many people as possible. No, it's going to be quality control. You're going to have to go through the 6-week program and get introduced to the community and then go through your anchor management program. Again, this is in spectrums of creating stewardship centers. So anchor management is the program where you're learning how to incorporate the educational edifice within your framework. So then you're getting signed off as a site that can sign off on that 20-hour work week verification letter for those ABODs. Does that answer where you were going?
That answers exactly what I'm looking for. And I
Okay.
guess one follow up to that, if hypothetically, let's say I do this and because I float all over the place, would this work for multiple farms, or would just be for, I guess, for me?
You're asking me, would it work for multiple farms?
Right. So I volunteer and coordinate different volunteer activities on a couple of different farms in Southeast Virginia outside of my
Mm-hmm.
own. And with if I go through this training, I guess my question is, could those sites also be or lighthouse sites if I'm there, or would it just be for my site only?
That's a good question. I think we have to consider that because I think the biggest factor that I see is like, I know a lot of farmers do that. They rove around. And a lot of the times, the farmers that rove around a lot usually don't have a good amount of time to teach. So it just depends. And I'm not saying that will be you, but from my POV, like Dan like to say, my POV, I usually see farmers that bounce around to other sites, usually are booked solid to where they don't really have a lot of time to teach. I'm not necessarily going to say you couldn't do it, but I think that would have to be kind of discussed. That's a great question. Thank you for that. That might need to be one of those things where you just collaborate with somebody else, and allow them to be a part of the facilitation of the education as well, even if it just has to be someone who can be the one who signs off to say, yes, they were here. If the people are traveling with you at the same time, then that just means y'all are going from site to site, but it's still you being the facilitator of the education. That wouldn't be a problem. But if you're having people show up to different sites while you're not there and they're taking care of the business, somebody has to be there to verify that they're doing the job and sign off on those hours. So that would be the only kind of thing I can foresee happening. Again, we don't want to start this process up where we're coming in the door and then having incriminating activity off the muscle. Then we're going to end up getting this program possibly, criticized in that regard. So we want to be really forthright with how we're accounting for these hours as well. It's already a messed up situation where folks are going to have to work the 20 hours. We're really wanting to be impactful and train them so that when they show up to the site after this program is over, they're able to grow the food themselves and get off the stamps and no longer need that letter of accreditation. So thank you for that. That was something to digest, and yeah, we'll work on a more solid answer. Miss Irby, you can go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted a better understanding of how the collective sustainability would play in being a part of this program. Is it we would come to you guys to learn the ins and outs of ABOSS, and then from there start our own farm? I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, so basically, collectively sustainable is just the movement. So again, this is our opportunity that we feel goes past just the situation. We're using this as a catalyst to build community around agriculture. Again, right now it's the perfect temperature for us to really take an aggressive stance on sustaining ourselves. And we're saying we are not meant to sustain ourselves individually. We're meant to sustain ourselves as a collective. So collectively sustainable is just the framework of building community around food. It's more than necessary because again, we're talking about conflict resolution, and then we're talking about, yes, how you operate as an ABOD, and then how you operate as a farm, a garden, a homestead. And then again, our biggest notion is we have to create our own educational facilities. So that $5 a month makes sure that we can continue to create more collectively sustainable stewardship centers. So again, this is kind of like collectively sustainable would be the where we can kind of initiate the quality control and maintain the quality control. So if an ABOD has a problem or there's some kind of incident where something has to be resolved, we can still have infrastructure as far as governance to kind of depend on. We're not just out here doing things on our own, making our own agreements, and then again, muddying up the water in the opportunity that we have right now to create communities in a sustainable mechanism. So just to double back down, you're coming into collectively sustainable as someone who understands the value of community. Within collectively sustainable and understanding that value of community, you're taking the efforts and initiative to go gather people in your area. Some of these people might be ABOD, some of them might be regular farmers, homesteaders, just like people on this chat. So the community is bigger than just the ABOS, but we're saying we're taking folks who might not be community minded and putting them in spaces like lighthouses where they're saying we're building community. And we're saying you got to at least come through this funnel so you can understand what community looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. Again, we have to reprogram ourselves in order to walk into this next echelon of being in community. So collectively sustainable is the filtration system. so that people can't just come in wanting to get free labor for their farm while not being That's just a repetitive aspect of capitalism. Slavery, sharecropping. We're saying no, we're making sure that we have quality control in place. So anybody who comes here has to understand that we're building community first. And then we're impacting our community by way of in-kind value. Did that make sense?
A little. I guess I'm just trying to find where my end would be to like start volunteering or getting into collective, meeting people, learning that part of
Yes.
schedule out
So
there where I could like, hey, these days are available where I can come and, help and learn at the same time, that kind of thing.
absolutely, and that's what collectively sustainable covers. So it's not just framework about conflict resolution, but it's how do you contact people? How do you create this community? How do you interact with them? Where can you go after you've made contact? So we're literally walking you through as collectively sustainable. This is really just a framework that I used here in Atlanta. I was by myself as well, like some of you all are, and I was looking for assistance. I was looking for that community, and I had to go through a lot of iterations to really figure out the framework of community and how to build it and how to sustain it. So that's what you're getting introduced to. So then you can feel more confident going out. And we just had one of our community members we spotlighted 2 weeks ago. She started and initiated or spearheaded the movement in her area in Tennessee. She went from 0 people to having 10 people show up at her community event. From there, she got a list of names, got skill sets, and started making more formalized engagement with those same members or same personnel. So again, that's what we're facilitating. We're just facilitating how attack or approach the community infrastructure through agriculture. So again, that's what you would have to do is basically join collectively sustainable, get the ins and outs. But yes, it's going to still rely on you. It's still going to be on your shoulders to find people because it's specific to your area. And until we really get the word out, we won't really be able to realize that people know about what's going on. We're going to have to really do the work. So I appreciate that. I hope that's clear to everybody, like, and not to be a deterrent, but again, to realize where we are. We really are going to have to do the work. It's not going to be as quick and fast as we might like, but it's going to mean the world when we get it out the mud, for real, for real, and really build those connections. Dan, you had something? Then I'm gonna go up to Miss Bernice.
Yeah, my bad, man. My phone battery died. That's why I had dropped out. But there was a young lady who came on and said she was a little confused, right? And I thought that would have been a opportunity for us to ask, well, what does she do? What exactly? That's why I wanted to know. So
Okay.
we probably could help her a little better. Like, what is it exactly you do when it comes to agriculture or this entire collectively sustainable system? Where do you see yourself at?
Yeah, well, I have about 2 acres that I have the idea of growing. I've grown a little bit on it, but I'm just not good at farming. I'm not gonna lie, but I want to be better at it. I want to be able to lease or share parts of my property for others to be able to grow. I'm just having a hard time learning how to grow and keep things growing and to keep the animals off because I have a lot of rabbit issues with them eating my crops and deer, and it's been quite a little hard. And I'm in Atlanta actually.
The magic word you said, one thing we did not mention, you said lease. The lease itself, and this goes for the other, I can't remember her name. She was asking about how do we verify that an individual is doing what they're doing. Yes, you can offer a person a lease, a simple one-sheeter lease of what they're doing at your property, and that can be your connector to everything. And you go from there. So a lease can be utilized as an instrument to help an ABOD verify that they're doing their work as well. And it could be used as leverage for a farmer who is seeking funding, and they can show that others are actually leasing their space or whatever. That could actually help you guys obtain more resources and things of that nature.
So basically, I'm definitely tracking on what you're saying now. So you have the land, but you don't have the know-how. Basically, you would serve as a host. And like Dan is saying, you use a lease to find someone who is knowledgeable. So again, this is a workforce accelerator. If you can't find anybody who's knowledgeable to come to your farm and run and manage your operation so that you can have ABOTs come, then that means you yourself need to find a farm to study under. You yourself would then be taking the place of an able-bodied adult that has time to exchange for information. So you can approach it two ways. You can go again and impact a local farm, a homestead, a garden, and in exchange leverage admin, workforce, or marketing assistance in exchange for them teaching you. You can run the program till you feel confident, and then opt to come out and start your own lighthouse program using that ABOD accessibility. Or again, you can use a lease option to find somebody who's already qualified, they're already a lighthouse, they already have the skills and credentials to manage the land and grow the food and preserve the food. And then you partner with them. Again, collectively sustainable, the name says it. The framework is about collective works and collective action. We're trying to join ourselves with people who have different skills. So you having the land is a big factor. That's a great position to be in because right now that's what we need. It's the lack of green space for most people. So some people have the informational reserves, but they don't have the land, and that's where again, even swap ain't no swindle. You can create a leasing opportunity for that farmer or that lighthouse institution to operate on your plot of land, and you can go from there as well. So hopefully that answers your question. We're gonna go up to Miss Bernice, then Ashley, then back down to Believer.
Yes, I have, I guess my question is, do you know if they allow
Continue on hold for
collaborations between farms? So, for example, for myself, I would want the education hands-on. Um, but maybe one farm may have this particular type of education, like to not only learn how to grow the food in this environment, but I would also like to know how to build like greenhouses and things to protect the food. But maybe one farmer may not have the building, may not teach the building, but maybe they'll teach the growing. Are we able to do
Yeah.
more than one farm under this
In
program? Do
1,000
we have to
feet,
do
turn
separate
left onto
applications?
South Road.
Question. If you're somebody who has your work requirement met, there's no end to how much you can give. If you want to go to this farm to learn about agriculture and to fulfill your 20 hours because they have, in-ground growing, they have container gardening, they have raised bed gardening, and you can learn the boat there, but you want to learn aquaponics or aeroponics or any kind of extra specialty over here at this farm, you can just leverage the same agreement. Not necessarily having to leverage that form or have that form to be filled out, but you can still leverage your time. That's the biggest position that we have right now is showing that we can leverage time instead of money. So we're just approaching the farm in the same fashion. So you can have four farms that you work with. One of them might provide you the sheet and sign off on your 20 hours, but you might have three others that are teaching you something specifically, and you are in turn giving them certain things specifically that y'all kind of broker y'all's own internal deal with. So it's just an opportunity for us to expand as well. Believer, go ahead with your question.
Okay. So it seems like, if I'm understanding this right, it's a really revolutionary idea or proposed course of action. So first of all, let me square this off. The a person, a able-bodied person, can lease a parcel from a local farmland, right?
Mhm.
And that parcel can represent a sort of leverage for the farm to get a loan. You're saying that, right?
I think that's Dan.
You're
Well,
saying
yeah,
that,
that's what he's saying. Yes.
You're
Yes,
saying that, right?
because you would be coming in as a collective.
Right. So we're coming in as a collective. There's an established plot of land in town. That plot of land, they rent out parcels. So each parcel, let's say, gets a lease, quote unquote, which then can be presented at the bank for the the farmland to expand its capability or features on the land.
That lease would be for verification purposes and to help leverage other opportunities. So, in a nutshell, yes, it depends on what your goal is, pretty much. But
Right. So
yes,
let's imagine we have a demonstration garden in the middle of the city. We want to put in an amphitheater where we can do more presentations, educational opportunities, art presentations, yada yada. And we want to fund that amphitheater upgrade by leasing out parcels to able-bodied people who make this 20-hour work week commitment in and of itself, offer that in-kind value to the land. No.
Lawrence, invite him to the next time we do the 10 track commandments, invite him to that
Mm,
because that would be very helpful in regards to him understanding the components of a farm. And when that
yeah,
lease comes into play, it comes into play farmland with cropland, the tracks, then down to that particular level of fields or whatever, whatever
yeah.
location you're working with. So yeah, definitely Lawrence, tap him into the 10 track commandment.
Absolutely. Believer, I forgot what you said your name is, brother. My apologies. You definitely want to consider joining the collectively sustainable community because again, we go over the 10 track commandments. Some of them are going to be available to the public. We just talked about the first track commandment, know thy farm. Most of them are going to be accessible only through our community again. And this is just a free resource for the community. We're helping people get farming track numbers, and Dan Scott is literally going through your farming track and understanding the components of the farming track so that we can maneuver a little bit more effectively and efficiently when it comes to going for funding objectives and utilizing that collective leverage. So definitely consider that deeply to join that community. Any comments that anyone wants to throw on the floor about what we're doing as far as impactfulness? Kane, go ahead.
I had been listening in and I heard a couple people say a few things about missing out on things and not seeing things, and I still consider myself a new member. I promise you that if you just go to the app, look at the events, you'll meet people, you'll grow, you'll learn things. I'm still learning. One thing that's been beat over my head and I'm understanding now, do the classes, y'all. Do the classes. They
Yes,
help.
sir.
I'm starting to build my community in Alabama. And I'm not far from Atlanta, but I understand what he's saying about having to have your own area. So, if anybody's on here that's close, I'm willing to travel to meet you, or you can come to my
Absolutely.
property. So that's it. And
Absolutely.
just give it an honest effort. Don't just be a sit back member.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Kane. Thank you for that. All right, Shay or Camille. Camille on purpose. You go ahead and then we got Shay.
Thank you. Great presentation. I just want to open people's eyes to what farming is. It's not always having rows of corn and strawberries. You can grow worm castings, have worm
Hmm.
pens. There's so many things you can do. And for the lady who said that she has a lot of rabbits, I would I'll be trying to collect rabbit poop as fertilizer. There's so many things you can do in farming. So I know it can seem overwhelming because our minds immediately go back to just seeing fields of crop or having lots of animals in farming. But farming has definitely come around, and there's so much you can do. So I'm really excited about what you all are doing. I'm glad I followed you on Instagram, and I'm looking forward to joining. And thank you for having this presentation.
Thank you, thank you. We appreciate that. Definitely, and we missed on that. There's a lot of versatility in urban ag. Urban ag is a new sector, and it needs data. It needs to be rounded out. And again, the faster we spread these words about this initiative, a Bod to a Boss program, and kind of bringing in the people who can help, we can get creative, like Dan said. A worm farm is great. Everybody loves worm castings. That's a viable farm. Raising bees. It's a lot of different things that we do, even with collectively sustainable. It's other adjuncts that we add in that are not even a part of agriculture, but we build on them around community. I just didn't want to add them in to confuse anybody. But yes, we have to be creative and think outside the box. And again, education is the biggest thing that I've been pushing. If you have a plot, you need the help, you get the people in there to help, and you're running an educational facility to create more. That's a beautiful way to start. So again, we have to be open-minded when approaching this and use every tool of creativity that we have to approach it. So thank you for that. Shay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for hosting tonight and providing the information and education for those who are on either side of the fence, whether they're looking to get out of the rat race, or for someone who's being able to provide a space for that individual to get out that race. I see this being an initiative to do a lot of good for the community. And I say that because I had the opportunity to employ some folks last year with the major shipping project with the seed company. And it was really difficult to get some of these same people that we're talking about helping to get out there to come to work. So I see this as being a bigger initiative for them to do something different in order to become something different. And when you become something different, sometimes you are different within yourselves, with for the better and for the good. And I'm just excited to share this information with the farming community out here in Southeast Virginia. And as an urban farmer out here, that's something that we're talking about quite often, is educating the community on how they can be more self-sufficient within their own means. And yeah, urban farms matter. UFM, search the hashtag.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Appreciate that. Appreciate that feedback. At this time, I do believe that we have nobody left. Everybody's heart, mind, and soul are clear. Dan, you got any closing words?
Just all I want to say is just, if people need help, reach out. We here. You know what I'm saying? If you need help on anything, Lawrence will reach out to someone in the collectively sustainable network to kind of help you, in regards to whatever you're doing. Don't be shy, or don't be shameful about anything you don't know. Don't with me, Seals Family Farm has been the best partner I've ever had when it comes to accountability. I'm socially disadvantaged, so I use a lot of acronyms and things of that nature. And sometimes Lawrence has to tell me, say, look, people don't understand this and understand that. And so that's just iron sharpening iron. Criticism is good. And it's basically look at this collectively sustainable as accountability partners. That's pretty much what I want to say, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it is. And it's that serious, y'all, because again, we have to take the bull by the horns. We have to move intentionally and really step forward aggressively with the intent to produce our own saving. We already understand that these folks is not coming in to save us. They're literally trying every step of the way to dismantle any progression that we once had. We have to step forward in a major way, and it's going to take iron sharpening iron. It's going to take us being in collaboration with one another. It's going to take us asking questions and probing and prodding to make sure that this thing is watertight. So again, the culture is what we're producing through collectively sustainable, because again, we have to unlearn and relearn. And the community aspect of the culture is really the base of this whole movement, because we have to move with something that supersedes the dollar. We have to move with that integral notion of, hey, I got your back and you got mine. So yes, I'm gonna make sure that I'm checking to make sure you put them onions in the ground, like you said, because I got these eggs coming, like I told you I was gonna have. So again, it puts us in position to really rely on one another and really become more collective within our thought process. So again, I appreciate y'all for being on this chat on Zoom. I'm hoping that everything rested well on your shoulders and your mind and your spirit. And again, if you want to join the community and get a head start, go ahead and hit that link down there and sign. That's it for today, man. I appreciate y'all. And if you have any questions, like Dan said, please don't hesitate to reach out. Anything else that you might pop up that have you questioning, or you want some more information or clarity on, I'm very much available on TikTok, FarmFresh247 underscore ATL, or IG, Southside Nature, SOUF side nature or underscore nature. And I'm looking forward to kicking it with y'all in a real capacity, man. We'll catch y'all on the next time. Nature boy.